Hey Alexa, play songs by the Butthole Surfers.
Here's some music by Surfers on Amazon Music.
In the 1980s, the Reagan Revolution made America square again. The freaky 60s were out. The conformist 50s were in.
You wanted law and order in this town. You've got it.
Oh. If you were tempted to get out of line, all you had to do was...
just say no.
But deep in the heart of Texas, something weird was happening.
Satan! Satan! Satan!
Butthole Surfers created a brain-melting art punk spectacle that broke all the rules and became a cult phenomenon. A haven for the misfits, queers, and weirdos who didn't fit the Reagan mold. Their shows were psychedelic explosions of beautiful, ugly chaos.
And people were scared.
They influenced a generation of bands that became multi-platinum superstars, in part because they weren't named the Butthole Surfers.
Why the fuck would you want to name your band the Butthole Surfers?
They gave America the cultural enema it needed. And America said thank you with a major label deal and a record produced by Led Zeppelin's John Paul Jones. Soon the Buttholes were on everyone's lips.
I'm a surfer! Butthole surfer! Yeah, yeah, yeah!
These guys got their name from me.
And then, the band with the ultimate anti-commercial name had a #1 hit single.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Butthole Surfers.
Now, finally, we will make the documentary these art punk pioneers deserve.
We've already started the interviews and we have animators working on some really cool stuff.
It's better to regret something you have done.
We're scouring the globe for archival footage. We even stumbled across this. The Buttholes blew my mind when I first saw them in 1985, so I shot them at CBGB's and I've been collaborating with them ever since. Short films, music videos, even the movie I made with Alex Winter, Freaked.
Hey! He's got a hand under there!
When Gibby had a vision of a hair flapping machine, I built it.
Yo, boss!
Now Paul wants to do reenactments with prairie dogs, so we'll do that too. And we're going to learn a lot about what makes these amazing folks tick.
I mean, make it stupid.
I don't like the word soup.
We want to make a film that will blow your mind like a Butthole Surfers show and tell the incredible story of this band with no compromises.
And that's why we're making this film independently, in the DIY spirit of the band. We really need your help to make this a reality, so please don't make us beg.
Like this. Ever will be failures. Oh, God.
I promise everyone.
Terror, sadness, forlornity.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of the Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I am talking with the director and producer of the Butthole Surfers Movie. We are talking with Tom Stern, who's actually been on the show before a long time ago when he was on the Freaked episode, as well as Noa Durban, who is the producer of the Butthole Surfers Movie. I have to say, Butthole Surfers, been a fan of theirs for a long darn time. They were a band that I was pretty unfamiliar with other than their album covers, which used to disturb me so much when I would go into the Wyandotte Record Exchange. And finally, when I was working at 88.3 WCBN FM Ann Arbor, I went into the record library, grabbed all of the Butthole Surfers albums that we had, went into Little Studio B, put a cassette tape in the cassette tape recorder, just went through and kind of did a little bit of a needle drop literally on these albums, found songs that within the first, say, 30 seconds, I really enjoyed, and I created my own little best of the Butthole Surfers from that experience. And that was such a prized possession because it was one of those tapes that just, I had never heard anything like that before. Got some really great exposure to a band I had never really heard before until things like Hairway to Steven came out. I mean, it might have been right around that same time. Obviously, they would go on to bigger things like Electric Land. People would eventually find out who they were, and I'm so glad that this documentary is going to be out there evangelizing that Butthole Surfers message for the entire world. I had a great time talking with Tom and Noah. I hope that you enjoy this interview.
How do you make a great music doc? There's a lot of mediocre music docs, you know. So my vision for this is settled to make it more like a musical. Like, let the songs structure the film. Let the songs really be in the spotlight, you know. I find watching music docs often, it's frustrating because you're hearing talking heads talk about how great the band is, and then you hear 5 seconds of their music. You know, you're like, okay, well, I guess that's great, but why not really let the music shine and I want to make this like a midnight movie experience. That's why we're calling it the Butthole Surfers Movie as opposed to a documentary about the Butthole Surfers. We want to create some version of the excitement and mindfuck kind of immersive psychedelic experience that was a Butthole Surfers show in their prime. We want this movie to kind of take you there. If you never got the chance to see them, or if you did, you know, we want it to transport you back to this kind of immersive, chaotic 3-ring circus of Dada spectacle and meaning. You know, these guys were super smart artists. That, you know, the juxtapositions that they put on stage were so startling and primal and powerful that an ordinary music doc is not going to suffice. We have to make something really special to honor their legacy.
So, Noa, what was your first experience with the Butthole Surfers?
I was 18 and I was dating a Gen Xer. He turned me on to them. I actually got to them in the backwards way of Jesus Built My Hot Rod, the Ministry song. And Gibby is like basically the song. And I was like, who is this? Like, this is like genius. And then it was like the Mike Judge, the like Beavis and Butthead, who was in my room, and Dust Devil that was featured on. And then I got deeper and deeper, and I saw their album covers, like their first album art with the children with the stomachs and the wee-wees. I have Tourette's syndrome. It's not like a light thing for me, and I've struggled a lot with it. And finding a band that's like really embracing being weird and thinking outside of the box, it's as if I felt like we're communicating in a way, like the band gets my brain. They put on audio and visuals, what I have inside going, and better and funner. And that's how I became really like obsessed with them. And that's also how I got to Freaked, because Sweatloaf and Gibby is in Freaked. So actually like all of this is through being a fan.
Tom, you've been a fan of theirs for, you said, 35 years.
Since 84.
Wow. So a little bit more than that. What was your first experience with them?
I saw them at 8BC and the Pyramid Club in East Village. When I was an NYU student, I was super into underground music. That was my persona. Me and my friends were just like, we went to shows. We went to, you know, SST bands and the whole amazing underground scene that was happening then. That was my world. So then one day, my old friend Alex Winter, you know, we were roommates in college, and he was like, oh man, there's this new band, the Butthole Surfers. We got to check them out. I was like, yeah. We went, and they fucking blew me away. I was like, what? You know, they were just such a unique, amazing band. They weren't like anybody else. They were really like, you know, so peculiar and eccentric and doing something you couldn't see anywhere else. And, you know, Gibby had the clothespins in his hair, and he was wearing a weird, like, woman's slip. You know, like he would do the gender bending thing, but not to make himself sexy. He would dress like a dowdy housewife from Amarillo, you know. I was captivated by his weird charisma, and Paul's guitar, just like, whoa, he's such a fucking amazing guitar player. And the two drummers, you know, Teresa and King, making this thunderous tribal beat just sucked me in. I love that tribal beat, you know, and it put me in this, it was like, you know, it's like a tribal ceremony, you know, it's not like a rock show. You go and you're sucked into this, you know, a lot of us were taking psychedelics too. Like I saw him after that, I saw him at CBGB's and took acid, and it was just like a life-changing experience because the music was in me and around me and in my spine. I felt like Paul Leary had opened my spine and strung his guitar with the nerves in my spine. It was playing directly into my brain. You know, it was just like a transcendental, but transcendent. was a transcendent experience. And so then I went and asked them at CB's the next time they came to New York if I could shoot them. I went to the sound check, and Paul was super nice and like down to earth and was like, hey, man, yeah, sure. Well, you should have seen us at Danceteria the other night, man. That's when it really got crazy. And he was referring to the infamous show where Kathleen, the first time Kathleen, their naked dancer performance artist, performed with them at Danceteria, and her and Gibby had this thing that got pretty sexual. It was simulated, but well, we'll explore that in the film. But it was crazy. It was an amazing experience for both of them and the audience. But it was like notorious, and it created a legend instantly. But anyway, the CB show, Gibby was more intimidating and kind of spoken riddles and was sort of like, yeah, I don't know, man. Well, he was playing with a big paper cutter on the bar at CB's. It was intimidating because I was like, oh, wow, that's sharp. And he's like, yeah. And he's like slicing, it's like not looking at me. And I was kind of scared of him. But finally, he's like, people do this and they never send us the tape, And I was like, I swear I'll send you the tape. I swear I'll send you the tape. Saying, all right. He said, yes. I shot the show like 1 foot from the stage on a chair in CB's. And every time they, go into something hard, a mosh pit would erupt. And I'd be like, whoa. And I was trying to just stand up. But it was a fucking great show. I mean, they just kicked ass musically. That's on YouTube. Check it out. February 86 at CBGB's. It's on YouTube. And then I cut for the song Cherub. I made a short film with a friend of mine named Alex Halpern at school. We made this short film around the song, and we sent it to Texas, and they loved it. And they were like, you guys are cool. So we hit it off. And then we worked together on our film Freaked and
Barbecue.
We did the barbecue movie, which is also called Entering Texas. We did, Alex Winter and I did, for this Impact Video Magazine thing we did in 89, which was an kind of counterculture, underground culture magazine on video. So we did a short film for them with John Hawkes, future Academy Award nominee, who we just interviewed the other day. Lots of stuff. The film Freaked was actually originally a Butthole Surfers vehicle. We wrote it as a Butthole Surfers vehicle. They were going to star in it, but that version was too sick and transgressive for Hollywood, and we couldn't get any money. So we rewrote it as a more slightly more mainstream comedy, because Fox actually read our script, the transgressive one. They're like, we like you guys, but we're not going to do this. So we rewrote it. Gibby was reduced from, the star to a cameo, which was a bummer. But Paul did the music, and we used their songs. And
it was also before they hit mainstream, really mainstream. Like, it was before Pepper. It's like
they were still
before
underground.
Pepper. So it was maybe after Pepper they would let you do the weird shit.
Well, the funniest thing was this guy, Roger Birnbaum, was a big executive at Fox. We had a meeting about the soundtrack when we were doing Freaked. And we were like, we want to pack it with cool bands like Nirvana, and who had just hit, like Nirvana. But we were giant Nirvana fans when nobody knew who they were, because that was our world, So, and he's like, Nirvana, show the big now. What time is it? Guess they're still pretty big, Roger.
I remember seeing that piece that you did for Impact Video. There was a video store around here where they took Squeal of Death and Isles of Doom, right? And just all that, and they put it all onto one VHS tape. So I remember renting that way back when. I'm just outside of Detroit.
That's great. I love that. I mean, that's my weird career has been kind of, fringe and weird, and that's how it's spread, is through those little video stores and then Cinemax and shit. But it's just that's such an important cultural network, those little stores. All my friends were tape traders, that was our thing.
So where are you guys sourcing all of your concert footage and your other footage from?
First of all, there's a lot of stuff everywhere, because they're kind of like for an underground band, they're really big, so there's all over the place stuff. But we were working on the movie one day when we received a magic package. We opened the package, and it's filled with fucking tapes on tapes on tapes on tapes. Whoever is listening to this, if you sent it to us, thank you, because we really don't know where it came from.
It was like this anonymous gift. And It's 50 tapes.
And it's really good footage.
It's great footage.
And we're having it digitized everything right now. Should I mention?
Dave Travis.
Yeah, Dave Travis, who's shot a lot, is on his own, and he directed, but he's also a huge video person. He recorded video, he digitizes video. So he's been helping us because it's so much materials. So he's been helping us digitize it, but also see what's worth keeping. And we also got some other people, because we did the Kickstarter and we became public with the movie. People were like, hey, I have the best footage of the Danceteria show. And they send it to us.
Yeah. Crowdsourcing footage has been a huge boon, even though we don't know who this guy is. There is a return address. I've been too busy because I have to write him a letter. There's no name. It's just a return address. I have to write him a letter.
If you're listening, contact us at the ButtholeSurfersMovie.com website, and we will thank you forever.
We're going to give him or her a huge thanks.
Yeah, whoever you are.
Because we have, so long story short, we've got a ton of amazing performance footage. We've got a ton of archival interviews. They were so funny in interviews. And we've got a ton of current interviews. Yeah,
so we really don't want to rely on old video, because anybody can do that, take some old stuff and be like, this is a movie.
Yeah,
but we want it to actually be like a movie, an experience, and we're kind of letting the songs lead the plot, drive the plot. But also because the Buttholes were multimedia artists, really, so we're really trying to not keep it just on music or just on video. That's why we brought in, I don't know if you saw the Gibby puppet that we have made.
Yes. I love it.
We're going to have puppets. We're going to have animation. We're working with really, really cool up and coming artists, and also established artists. The people who made the puppet are Crank Yanker, Jim Henson people, Mm-hmm. So it's really, and of course we have the new interviews that are giving you a current perspective on things, and also people that were never interviewed, childhood friends, family members, road people.
Yeah, we're talking. Yeah.
Sound guys, projectionists. And you know who their first projectionist was? Richard Linklater. So we're interviewing Richard, and I talked to him. We were at South by Southwest, and we talked to him. He's excited about the film too. It's funny, people don't know how much they impacted. People think either they know them from Pepper, and they're like, oh, it's the avalanche coming down the mountain band. Yeah. Or they're like, yeah, it's the underground phenomenon. But most people don't really know the little impacts. Gibby was in that band P with, now we will know his fate, Johnny Depp. But, and the Court and Courtney thing, the Red Hot Chili Peppers were hugely influenced by them. Flea was in the video for Who Was in My Room Last Night. Jim Jarmusch was very influenced by Gibby Haynes, and Gibby was actually had an opportunity to have a cinematic career that it didn't quite come together, but well, he was in Dead Man. He was in Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man. He was in Dead Man, but memorable cameo. People who are of note have always been very fascinated with them. And Sparks, the movie that came out on Sparks now, I kind of I'm jealous of the tagline that they say it's your band's favorite band. Right. Props to you, Edgar Wright. It's a great movie.
How do you even decide what songs are going to move this narrative along? Because the Buttholes were so amazing when it came to just different styles. I mean, you can take 2 albums, 2 random songs. I mean, Going to Florida is a whole, that.
That's going to be in it.
Oh my God. That's one of my favorites. I think that might have been the first Butthole song I ever heard.
It's a great song. That was one of the standouts at that CB show I shot, because I think they just written it and they were just starting to perform it. And
Gibby just gives it.
He gives it. And so does Paul. Because of the stop and start nature of that thing. It's these rests and and then, it's great.
We're learning some really cool stuff, actually. Now that we've, we're honing more and more about the song approach. Mm-hmm. And we've discussed this with Paul, with King, with Gibby. And we're kind of walking through the songs with them and getting the stories about how they were made, but also just like it brings out things, like you start talking about something and something comes out.
Yeah, like something, like from their first record.
The song Something.
Something was a song, something she said to me last night. Something she said to me.
Do we tell though?
Yeah, this is a great little revelation. Like I asked Paul, like, what was the something she said? And the answer was that she liked Gibby better than me. So it was a girl in college, they went to college together, and some girl that Paul liked Gibby better. So it was like that's what she said.
And also, like, what's another interesting thing is that we're getting so many different accounts. Like the Butthole Surfers are kind of mythicized, and there's always a myth, and you mythologize, and you never know what's the real story. And we may never know, even when the movie is done, we may never know the true story. But Gibby would say one thing, Paul would say another thing, and King would say a completely different thing that has to do with Michael's type. So it's kind of like that's part of what we're doing. We're cross-referencing people's takes on stuff, because we did hear other versions for something also. I know that Paul wrote it, but other people who swear they were there say it's something else.
And
so
it's the Rashomon. We're embracing the Rashomon effect and the oral history effect. Like, Please Kill Me is an amazing book. I'd love to be able to capture some of that where it's just like people who were there, like remembering it, but then like, play with the differences in their memories, because human memory is obviously extremely unreliable. But yes, how do you choose the songs? Great question, because they've got this huge catalog. But basically, we're choosing the songs that are we feel like are great songs, like they're and kind of represent a step of the story of the band. So like, Hey, the song Hey, that's a great song. It's also very kind of poppy and accessible. I think that might open the film, because that was the first song Gibby wrote. And Gibby wrote it. Like, it came right out of him. And it's like, oh shit. He's always like saying he's not a musician, but that's a great song that just popped out of Gibby. Paul just kind of added guitar. So we're finding out all the details of who actually wrote each song, which is so interesting because the Buttholes were notorious for never giving song credits or listing any credits. It was just weird doodles of deers pooping and stuff, because they're these Dada freaks who they built the mystique. And now part of our thing is like, we're looking past the mystique to find out really what they were doing, who these people are and how they did it.
But it still also remains kind of mysterious because they are characters.
They are. And
so even though when we dig deep and we are very intimate with them and we have that, still there's an air of like, they're artists and you don't get boring answers from these people. You really don't.
Okay, so another song I want to tell you about is Graveyard.
Don't do it.
No?
No. Save for the movie.
You save it for the movie?
Yeah.
All right. Let's save something. But there's the song Graveyard, which is one of my favorites, and they did a great version of it, that CB show. The way that song was conceived is completely amazing and kind of emblematic of the whole dynamic of the band. And there's two versions on the Locust Abortion Technician. There's a weird, slow version, and then there's one that's a little more together. The story of those two versions is amazing. And we want to do a recreation of it because it kind of like, it's just amazing how that happened.
Yeah.
So this is going to be what, a 20-hour miniseries spread?
No, it's like, look,
it can be.
I'm so into pace because, I've been working in TV so long, it's like, I really feel like pace is everything. I don't want it to be boring. So, we're going to just cut it down to the best stuff. It's not going to be too long. It'll be under 2 hours. It'll be reasonable because that's one of the trends in modern movie making I hate is the excessive length and these indulgent directors who are just like, it's got to be 3.5 hours. You know what? It doesn't. And it sucks because it's 3.5 hours. It's like, it would be so much better at 2 hours, but we'll have a ton of ancillary materials that we could probably put out on, in different ways, on the internet, on the website as extras or whatever. But I want to make a coherent piece of art. I want to make a feature film that is honors the Butthole's legacy, but works on its own terms. So for that reason, it's got to be under 2 hours. It's got to be something you can watch at a midnight movie.
We want people who don't even know the band to enjoy it. Yeah. And they will.
They will, because
it's fun.
And
we're like, one of the things that attracted me to Tom's work is the cult movie thing. Like I went to a screening of Freaked. I'm like I was like raised in the Rocky Horror Picture Show, like once a month. Friday we perform. I was in those casts of reenacting it. So to me, it's like I was always really attracted to the fringe and to the midnight thing, like a cinema. Like what I do all the time in my spare time is I just go to see screenings of old movies, new movies, but mostly old movies.
Mostly 80s slasher movies.
Mostly 80s, not slasher necessarily, but horror. And it's just like, it's really exciting to me to see these worlds come together, because the Buttholes were like this midnight show of chaos.
Yes.
And if we can in some way kind of bring it to people, and like I want people to make it an event to go see this movie, to go to the theater, and they might come out wet. We don't know. They'll be sweating. We might scare people when they're watching it. We don't know.
Me and Noah and I are two different generations, but we both are midnight movie freaks. I used to go to see John Waters movies and Dawn of the Dead and, all the midnight movies from my era, early 80s. It's such a great thing. And it's sort of like faded a bit. We really want to help bring it back. I mean, Alamo Drafthouse is a great thing, but it's just like such a bonding thing for like weirdos and freaks to get together at a midnight movie and watch some. And
you might meet your favorite director and end up producing their movie
for your
favorite band if you go to these midnight screenings. So
the only time I've seen the Buttholes perform live was their inexplicable inclusion in Lollapalooza, the first.
I mean, it wasn't that inexplicable because they were a high-grossing independent band on the road. And Harry Farrell was like, who's cool? Well, the Butthole Surfers are cool.
It was an interesting lineup, like Susie and the Banshees, 9 Inch Nails, Rollins Band, Living Colour.
Body Count.
We just talked to Ice-T.
Yes.
Sorry, we just talked to Ice-T.
Yes, we did.
And he had some cool memories of seeing the show.
He was like...
he was awestruck by their theatrics.
Yeah, when Gibby brought out a shotgun on stage and fired it off, Ice-T was, damn, I just got outdone. Because he had like a starter pistol as part of the body count thing. He had a prop, he had a little pistol, and Gibby comes out with a shot. Boom!
It was like, motherfucker came out with a shotgun.
He was like, damn.
And we talked to Henry Rollins also about that. And he was also, everybody, like their co-performers were all in kind of awe, shock, fear, and love of the Buttholes. And they loved like hanging out with them because it was a whole tour. And they all said that it was great to hang out with them and they were good people, but the theatrics were just shocking to all these pros.
They were scary. Like, how many bands are legitimately scary? Not many. Like, Alice Cooper's not scary. It's just it's like Vegas. But like with Gibby and the Buttholes, he was presiding over this just kind of like chaotic in the moment thing that could go anywhere. And you just felt, that had that crackling energy of danger and possibility and just like, whoa, this dude, he's going to just, he doesn't care. He's fucking going for it. I miss that. But I know exactly what you mean. To come back to your statement, it wasn't great to see the Buttholes in daylight.
That's true. Middle of the afternoon. First
not
band, maybe?
Not their time. They can't be warm-up act. They have to close. You cannot come on after them. They have to like shut the place down because they're going to blow your mind and reduce the air to, some kind of cheese. They would unleash these unholy noises that would, in their digital delay, so ahead of their time with like using digital delay in creative ways and audio distortion on voices and stuff. So you'd be in this world of smoke and lights and strobes and just, like giant slabs of noise. And it's like, you can't fucking follow that. It's just too intense.
I listen to a lot of music in general, but sometimes very heavy music, like Dying Fetus shit. And my dogs I have 2 dogs, and they're chill with dying fetus. But when I play some butthole stuff, they fucking freak out. They can't take it. They're like, this is like demon shit. We don't like this. And I'm like, you shut up, dogs, because this is what I'm playing now.
So you've got tons of interviews. You've got hundreds of hours worth of concert footage that you're going through, digitizing, cataloging. When is it going to be enough? And do you have a date there that you're aiming for?
Yes, but the thing is, we have a whole nother layer that you didn't mention, which is animation, reenactments, weird reenactments with strange casting of weird celebrities that are totally wrong. And then, puppet show reenactments. All kinds of multimedia stuff we're going to layer on top because some of these stories around the band are so amazing. So we have to have visualizations. It's sort of like that, that great animation with Doc Rivers, the guy who threw a no-hitter on acid. It's that kind of thing where you're hearing a great story VO-wise and you're seeing an amazing animation or other visual treatment.
Yeah.
Like that's how we want to blow people's minds. But
in terms of the process, first of all, this is a really good time to mention that we are in fact still fundraising. To everyone who's listening, we have very attractive investment and donation opportunities for anyone who might be able or, wanna help us, because it is a big project. There's a lot of different components to it, and we do actually, you wouldn't expect it, but we actually pay people.
We do.
And, so that would be fantastic. We're actually right now cutting something together to kind of show our chops. So we're going through the archive, we're going through the interviews to select those moments that we want to reenact, because there's so many you can do, but it's kind of like we will choose the best things to do.
The cream of the crap. The
cream of the crap. And right now we're kind of like really gearing into moving into serious editing, because our initial hope was to have a festival premiere.
We're still hoping
2023. And hopefully, the fundraising goes well and it will come alive. We will do it because we have so much good stuff. And it's a movie that really, it needs to happen. The fans have been so excited, and not just like, random people have suddenly decided that, they discovered the band now through all the publishing of like the movie stuff, and it's gained a lot of traction. Like big shots are into it, average Joes are into it.
We've got a lot of support. Sorry.
And there's a really also interesting aspect to mention that like these are really pioneering people, and not just in the audio-visual realm, but also, they came from Texas, early 80s, with like a gay drummer, a woman drummer.
Well, two gay drummers.
Like one of them is a guy, one is a girl. And, cross-dressing, burning themselves, and they were a haven for freaks and weirdos and for the people that didn't fit in those Reagan times and in Texas. There is a cultural significance to it, and also what it contributed to the eruption of grunge and like alternative music in general. They have like a heritage of being they pioneered a lot of the acceptance and did stuff way before their time that nowadays we're like, yeah, sure, woman drum. But like, no, there weren't many, like it was weird. And Kathleen, the performance artist that toured with them and danced naked, it was all her. They never told her what to do. She was like, they basically picked her up for her energy, and she was a performance artist, and she was like, I want to do this. And she has a great reasoning, and that's also something we're exploring in the movie for why she did everything. But they were a very safe place, even though they were scary on the outside and shocking, inside, we can't find people to talk shit about them. That's part of the problems when we make this movie. Nobody would talk shit about them. We're trying to get the tea and they won't spill it.
Kathleen, by the way, is one of the biggest revelations of this process has been talking to Kathleen Lynch, who I always, I didn't know her. I mean, she didn't talk. Like, she was very quiet back then. I would see her backstage and stuff. She turns out to be an incredibly intelligent and hyper-articulate person who's just a total intellectual and lived this strange experimental life as art kind of thing. And like dropped out of society and was living with like all the drag queens in Atlanta, like RuPaul and
Lady Bunny
and Floyd Felicia, who we interviewed for the film, in this radical
Larry T, of course.
Larry T.
Not to forget, Larry T has a new single out. Sorry.
And that world, interestingly, the punk like Gibby, the Butthole Surfers, they had a real attraction to that drag world. So there was this weird mingling of the drag, outrageous, transgressive drag scene in Atlanta in the 80s and punk rock, weird punk rock with the Butthole Surfers playing at this place called the Celebrity Club, where these two worlds collided. It was like drag queens and crazy Butthole Surfers fans. And, that's a really interesting thing culturally to me, and Kathleen. So, her voice is going to be pretty prominent in the film because she has such an interesting take on it. She's so intelligent and the way she describes it, she's like a pure artist, no concern for money. It's just like she just wants to express herself. And that's what she was doing on stage. And she loved it with the Buttholes. But now she has the ability to kind of speak about it so eloquently. So I love her voice in the film. That's been a real revelation.
So helping us make this movie happen is not just because it's cool and fun and because we want it to happen, but I think it will mean a lot to a lot of people to hear the stories of Teresa, of King Coffee, of Kathleen, and even of Gibby and Paul. There's some deep shit in there that needs to be uncovered, and I think will inspire and help a lot of people to hear it. And it does for me. It inspires and helps me a lot.
The human stories, apart from the music and everything else, the human stories are so compelling. There's so many, because these people are really interesting. They're not like dumb, rock idiots that just partied and fucked a lot of groupies. That wasn't who they were. They're real artists, and so they're just fascinating. So, it is a lot to squeeze into an hour and 45 minutes, but I think with a fast pace and kind of a really fun multimedia approach, we can do it. We can tell all these stories and make a great film. We're hoping to premiere next, year at the festivals. But there's some, it's a natural fit for South by Southwest, for instance, where they lived. Yeah. And there was a lot of excitement about it when we were there at South by a few weeks ago. People are psyched. They're looking forward to it, and we're excited to give them a great film. But even Nicolas Cage is excited. That's right.
The very person.
So I know with Kickstarter, there's always like those levels and stuff, and it's like, oh, you get a digital copy. Of course, I've donated. I can't remember what I donated,
thank you.
You're welcome. But when it comes to, so now you're doing it through buttholesurfersmovie.com. Is that the same thing, or is it just all like, here's like the tax deductible donation type of thing?
In terms of ongoing fundraising, in addition to seeking out people of means who have more money to invest in the arts to support the project, regular fans who don't have a ton of money can help by just buying a T-shirt on the website. And we've got these amazing T-shirts, some designed by Don Rock, which was the shirt Kurt Cobain wore famously in the year that punk broke, the Dave Markey film. And then we have T-shirts that Gibby Haynes designed specifically for this movie. And they're both for sale on our buttholesurfersmovie.com website.
Everything counts, and we're really thankful. The Kickstarter has allowed us to make immense progress in the movie. And we are so, 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 so grateful for everybody who's contributed, and you too, Mike. Because really, even if let's say 100,000 people give us $5, boom, we're done. The power of the fans is really important, and we couldn't continue without them. So thank you for being there. And it's not like we don't discriminate. Any donation, big or small, is great. We're just it comes a time when you really need to go into editing and do all kinds of fancy shit with the puppets and and we need a little bit more for that. But it doesn't mean that we don't cherish and appreciate everything that comes in. And thank you for allowing us to be indie.
Yes, I second that. I'm so grateful to the fans and the people who have supported us so far. It's fantastic. We really, it means everything. And it's allowing us to make this film, which is a passion project. We're not doing this for money. We're doing it because we love the band and we want to preserve their legacy and kind of help cement their place in history so that, people can, and future generations can know about them. Everything is kosher. We want to make something that would really represent them well and make them proud. Like, it doesn't mean that it would be one-sided because they're not the ones who are doing the final cut. Like, it's Tom directs it and he leads it. But at the same time, we are also fans of it. Like, we are, but that's an important point that Noah said. It's not going to be a hagiography because we all hate hagiographies. It's boring. We don't want to just talk about how great they are. We want to know the dark side. We want to know the problems and we want to know everything. So also, it's annoying that people won't talk shit to us. We've been trying. Some people talk shit. Some of the people that talk shit aren't talking to us. They talk shit. Yeah, people talk shit not to us. But please, if you're hearing this, people who have shit to say about the Butthole Surfers, we want to hear. We have an open ear. I'll put it in if it's legitimate. Because I want to give voice to everybody. People who pissed them off, got pissed off or whatever. They made a few enemies along the way, and there was a historic battle with Touch and Go Records that's quite historic because they sued Touch and Go to get their masters back. A lot of people in the indie rock scene were pissed at them because Corey Rusk is a beloved figure in the indie music world who ran Touch and Go, but it became a big legal precedent. It went to like an appellate court, like really high up, and the Buttholes won, and their victory actually has long-lasting legal precedent effects for artists and copyright issues.
Feels like Al Jorgensen could probably talk some shit.
Yeah. Like he's
no comment.
Yeah.
No comment. On next question.
Was there any hesitation from the band when you came to them with this idea, or did they just bite down right away?
Paul said, you know what? I hate documentaries. I don't want to be in a documentary. I hate interviews, but if we're going to do one, you're the guy to do it, Tom. So that was nice. And he said, yeah, let's do it. So like, he recognizes the value in it. Gibby was all in from the beginning, as was King Coffee. It's worth mentioning that a lot of people tried to do this movie and reached out to the Buttholes and asked them to do this movie. And Tom's got to do it. Sorry, dudes. Sorry, some fancy people that I'm not going to name that tried to do this. They want Tom. Well, and there's a reason they want Tom. And also you can check out Tom's video that he did for Paul Leary's new single, now not so new, but do you like to eat a cow? Yeah, it's on YouTube. Do you like to eat a cow? It's a really cool video that I did during COVID, almost entirely alone. Like I was the acting talent, the puppeteer. I made all the puppets and shot it and lit it and edited it. But one other person helped me. She's sitting right here. Oh, God. That's when we initially met, and she wanted to learn about filmmaking. I was like, well, help me shoot this video because I need someone to hold this blood bag. Yeah. So she held the blood bag and squeezed it so that this cow at the end, this toy cow, splits in half like the doors of the elevator in The Shining, and torrents of blood come out. And I was assistant blood mixer. Yeah. Oh. It took a long time to get the blood just right. It took some time, yes.
Well, Tom, Noah, thank you so much for your time. This was great talking with you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Please don't make us look silly.
Well, that's...
But it's kind of hard. Yeah, okay.
I'm going to move down to Florida. And I'm going to bowl me a perfect game. I'm going to cut off my leg down in Florida. And I'm going to dance one-legged off in the rain. Well, they say the Sydney Poitier was a blind man. And they Peggy was a Soviet Jew. I said that when I go down to Florida way, there ain't no kind of sexual healing that I would not, should not, or could not do. I said this right here. Well, I'm moving down to Florida. And you know that I'm gonna have to potty train the Chairman Mao. And I'm gonna make the governor write my doo-doo a letter, child. And then I'm gonna grind me a White Castle slider out of India's sacred cow. Well, I'm going down to Florida, child. And I'm gonna build me the atomic bomb. I'm gonna hold time hostage down in Florida, child. Ain't nobody gonna tell me what to do, stepchild. By this time, I guess you figured out about Florida. Turn the muddy water into Vaseline stained. Maybe making tadpoles the size of mercuries in Florida. That be telling Julio Iglesias what to sing now. Well, whoever said that Sidney Poitier was a blind man, and you the same of Elvis Presley too. Cause all the sausages that dance like Ray Bolger on the hood of a car in a traffic jam. No, just exactly what to do right here. Polecats and Ducky Seminole Salmon. You know that I'm in Florida. Just like Vince, I want to know. Well, when I'm in Florida, I got hurt. So I took all the children down in Florida in the store to get behind the gate. Well, I'm never going back to Florida. That's why I'm moving today. When I settle down in Florida, well, I'm going to explode the whole damn Tampa Bay. Get that boy in Florida and teach him what to do.
again.